Walk into any Harley dealership right now and you'll see something that should terrify you. Empty showrooms, bikes gathering dust for 11 months, salespeople with nothing to do. This isn't one store having a bad month, this is 2 million motorcycles that can't find buyers. If you own a bike, your equity is evaporating right now. If you're thinking about buying, you're about to see opportunities we haven't seen since 2008. I'm breaking down the three forces destroying motorcycle values, who's profiting while riders lose everything. And what's coming next? The market you knew is dead. Let me show you what is really happening on dealer lots across America right now. The 2025 numbers just dropped, and they are catastrophic. Motorcycle sales crashed 9.2% in the first half of 2025. Only 271,000 bikes sold. Worst start to a year in over a decade. But here's the part that should scare you. That is just new bike sales. When you add unsold dealer inventory, the flood of pandemic-era bikes hitting the used market, and the tsunami of repossessed motorcycles being dumped at auction, we are looking at over 2 million motorcycles competing for buyers that do not exist. The monthly numbers tell the real story. February sales crashed 20.7%. April dropped 6.3%. May fell another 5.6%. Then June delivered an absolutely punishing 11.4% decline. Month after month after month, the freefall continues. You might be thinking this is just a seasonal dip or economic uncertainty. It is not. This is a fundamental collapse. Walk into any major dealership. Harley-Davidson, Honda, Yamaha, Indian, Ducati, BMW. They are all sitting on mountains of inventory that will not move. Bikes that have been gathering literal dust for close to a year. The weekends that used to bring crowds of buyers are gone. Service bays that used to be packed are empty. Salespeople standing around with nothing to do. One dealer told reporters it feels like everyone just stopped riding overnight. Like the entire culture vanished. Here is the shocking part. Despite offering zero-down financing, aggressive discounts, and promotions you would normally never see, these bikes still will not sell. Think about that. They are practically giving motorcycles away, and people still are not buying. The dealers are trapped in a nightmare scenario. They are paying carrying costs on inventory that will not move, insurance, storage, floor plan financing. Every month those bikes sit, they are bleeding money. New shipments keep arriving, whether the dealers want them or not. They have 2023 models still on their lots. They have 2024 models they cannot move. And 2025 models are arriving at their door. The financial pressure is crushing them from every direction. But here is what this means for you if you're trying to sell right now. You are not just competing with other private sellers. You are competing with desperate dealers who need to clear space. You are competing with banks dumping repossessed bikes at auction for whatever they can get. And you are competing with 2 million motorcycles, all fighting for the same shrinking pool of buyers. The math just does not work. There are not enough people who want to buy motorcycles to absorb this inventory, and every day that passes, the situation gets worse. More repossessions hit the market. More pandemic buyers try to unload bikes they cannot afford. More dealers get more desperate. This inventory crisis is not a symptom of a down market. It is the visible proof that something fundamental broke in the motorcycle industry. And what is happening to values right now is even worse than the inventory problem. Now let me show you what's really happening to your money. If you bought a used motorcycle 2 years ago, sit down for this. That bike you thought was worth $12,000 is now struggling to sell for $7,500. And that's if you can find a buyer willing to show up. We're talking about a 40% value crash in less than 2 years, but it gets worse. National Powersports Auctions tracks what dealers actually pay at auction for used bikes. This is the real market. No marketing spin, no showroom polish, just cold, hard cash value. Their recent data reveals something terrifying. Domestic cruisers crashed 13% from their spring average. Adventure bikes are down 11%. Sport bikes, the biggest category in the entire market, dropped 8% in a single month. 1 month. But here is what should scare you. These are not following normal seasonal patterns anymore. Usually prices drop a bit in June after the spring buying season, then climb back up as dealers stock up for next year. Not this time. They are falling off a cliff and they are not coming back. Let me tell you what's really driving this collapse. Repossession, default, desperation. Right now, default rates on motorcycle loans are climbing to levels we haven't seen since the 2008 financial crisis. People who bought bikes during the pandemic boom, when everyone wanted to get outside and ride, are now drowning in payments they can't afford. When someone defaults on a motorcycle loan, the bank repossesses the bike and dumps it at auction for whatever it can get. Right now, banks are desperate to get anything. These repossessed bikes are flooding wholesale auctions, thousands of them all at once. They are undercutting everyone else trying to sell. If you're trying to sell your bike privately right now, you are competing with banks that do not care about getting a good price. They just want it gone. They want to recover whatever they can and move on to the next repossession. The market is being destroyed from the bottom up. But here is the nightmare scenario that is playing out right now. Riders who are $15,000 underwater on their loans. They owe more than the bike is worth, way more. They are facing a choice that destroys them either way. Keep making payments on a bike that is worth half what they owe, or default. Watch their credit get destroyed, lose the bike, and still owe the difference after it sells at auction for pennies on the dollar. These are not theoretical scenarios. This is happening to real riders right now, people who saved for years, bought their dream bike, and are now facing financial ruin because the market collapsed underneath them. The competition problem is suffocating private sellers. You are not just competing with other riders anymore. You are competing with banks dumping repos. You are competing with dealers who need to clear inventory. You are competing with pandemic buyers who overpaid and are desperate to get out. Everyone is trying to sell. Nobody is buying. And values are in absolute free fall. But why is this happening? Why now? Why is everything falling apart simultaneously? It is not just one thing. It is three forces that converged at exactly the wrong time, and they are feeding off each other in ways that are making everything worse. Force one is the price explosion. Since 2020, the average motorcycle price has jumped over 40%. Entry-level bikes that used to cost $6,000 or $7,000 now start at $10,000. Want a touring bike? You're looking at $30,000 or more. But it is not just the sticker price that is killing people. It is everything that comes with it. Insurance costs have skyrocketed. Maintenance is not cheap. And then there is the real killer, financing. Interest rates on motorcycle loans are at levels we have not seen in over 15 years. We are talking 9 to 10% for prime borrowers. For everyone else, even higher. Do the math on a $30,000 bike with a 10% interest rate. Your monthly payment just for the bike is hitting $700. Add insurance, add maintenance, add gear. You are looking at close to $1,000 a month for a toy you ride on weekends. Most people cannot justify that anymore. Not when rent is expensive, groceries cost more, gas prices fluctuate, and the economy feels uncertain. Motorcycles are not necessities. They are discretionary purchases. Luxuries. And when money gets tight, luxuries are the first thing to go. Force 2 is the demographic collapse. The baby boomers, the generation that built motorcycle culture in America, are aging out. They are in their 70s and 80s now. Many cannot ride anymore, and they are not being replaced. Younger generations are not getting into motorcycles at anywhere near the same rate. For millennials and Gen Z, bikes are not a lifestyle staple. They are an optional hobby that competes with 1,000 other things demanding their time and money. The customer base is literally dying off, and no one is filling the gap. This is not a temporary demographic shift. This is a fundamental restructuring of who rides motorcycles in America. Force 3 is the COVID production hangover. During the pandemic, motorcycle sales surged. Everyone wanted to get outside. Social distancing made solo activities more attractive. Manufacturers ramped up production like crazy to meet demand. Dealerships that had been struggling with low inventory suddenly had overflowing lots. Everyone thought the boom would last. It did not. The pandemic ended and the boom stopped. And all that production did not stop with it. Now, dealers are stuck. They have 2023 models still on their lots, 2024 models they cannot move, and inventory for 2025 arriving whether they want it or not. They are paying to store bikes nobody wants to buy. Manufacturers cannot just turn off production overnight. They have contracts with suppliers, commitments to dealers, and production facilities that need to keep running. So the bikes keep coming, even though demand collapsed. These three forces are creating a death spiral. High prices are pushing buyers out of the market. The demographic shift means fewer potential customers exist, and overproduction keeps flooding the market with inventory that cannot sell. Each force makes the others worse. High prices accelerate the demographic problem because young riders cannot afford to get into the hobby. Overproduction drives values down, which makes financing riskier, which drives interest rates up, which makes prices even less affordable. This is not a problem the industry can fix with better marketing or seasonal promotions. This is a structural collapse that is going to reshape the entire motorcycle market, and the casualties are piling up fast. Let me show you who is getting destroyed by this collapse. Harley-Davidson, the American icon, has seen domestic sales crash over 25% in early 2025. That is not a slump. That is a disaster. Their global retail sales are down over 20%. They have been forced to cut shipments by around a third. Their revenue fell so hard in the first quarter, they had to revise their entire year projections. Think about that. The most iconic motorcycle brand in America, the company that defined what it means to ride, is in freefall. And if Harley cannot survive this market, what chance do smaller brands have? Honda lost market leadership for the first time in years. Kawasaki surged ahead, but only because everyone else is doing even worse. Indian sales are down double digits. KTM's parent company is facing serious financial problems and could not even provide updated guidance for 2024. Even Livewire, Harley's electric motorcycle spin-off that was supposed to be the future, sold only around 600 motorcycles for the entire year of 2024. They originally projected they would sell over 15,000. Now their forecasts show they will not hit much more than 1,000 units this year. They have slashed their targets dramatically while cutting costs wherever they can. This is not just a rough patch. This is an industry-wide collapse. The dealers are getting crushed from both sides. A few years ago, they could not get enough inventory. Now they are drowning in it. They are paying carrying costs on bikes that will not sell, insurance, storage, floor plan financing. It is eating them alive. Some dealers are pivoting, moving towards service and parts. Some are shifting to ATVs or electric scooters. Some are getting out of motorcycles entirely. The ones who survive this will have to completely reinvent their business models. But here is what really keeps me up at night: the human cost. Think about the rider who bought their dream bike in 2022. Maybe it was a Harley Road Glide or an Indian Chief. They saved for years. They finally pulled the trigger and paid $35,000. Now that bike is worth $20,000 if they are lucky. They are $15,000 underwater on a loan they still have to pay. And if they default, Their credit gets destroyed. They lose the bike, and they still owe the difference after it sells at auction. These are real people facing real financial devastation, not statistics, not market data, but real riders who made what seemed like a smart purchase and are now trapped in a nightmare they cannot escape. The industry casualties make headlines, but the individual riders getting crushed by this collapse? Nobody is talking about them. Nobody is helping them. They are just drowning quietly while the market continues its freefall around them. So what happens now? Where does this go from here? If you are looking to buy, honestly, you're in the best position you've been in for years. Patience is going to pay off big time. Discounts are going to get deeper as we roll through 2025. Dealers need to clear space for new inventory, and they are running out of options. If you have been eyeing a premium touring bike or adventure machine, waiting a few more months could save you thousands. We are going to see deals we have not seen in a decade, maybe longer. The desperation is real. Dealers are sitting on inventory they cannot afford to keep. Banks are dumping repos for whatever they can get. Private sellers are accepting lowball offers just to get out from under their loans. This is a buyer's market like we have not seen since the last financial crisis. But timing matters. The deeper we get into 2025, the more desperate sellers become. The more inventory piles up. The better the deals get for buyers who have cash ready and patience to wait. But if you're trying to sell, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. The situation is brutal. Used values are crumbling. And if you wait thinking the market will recover, you will probably take an even bigger hit. If you need to sell, the time is now. Take what you can get. Because 6 months from now, it is likely going to be worse, not better. I know that is not what you want to hear. But the reality check you need is this. Values are not bouncing back anytime soon. The forces driving this collapse are not temporary. They are structural, and they are not going away. Every month you wait, more repos hit the market. More dealers get more desperate. More competition floods in. Your bike loses more value. The math does not lie. For the industry itself, this is a once-in-a-generation correction. The motorcycle market as we knew it is over. What comes next will look completely different. Dealerships that survive will have to cut costs aggressively. Many will embrace online sales, focus on only the top-selling models, pivot to service-focused business models. The old playbook does not work anymore. Manufacturers are going to have to rethink everything: pricing, production, target demographics. The strategies that worked for the last 30 years are dead. And here is something most people are not considering. This might actually be healthy for the industry long-term. Prices got absurd. A $30,000 motorcycle is ridiculous for most riders. Inventory bloat was unsustainable. Dealers could not keep operating with months of unsold bikes gathering dust. The market needed a correction. This is painful, but it might force the changes the industry desperately needed. We might see more affordable bikes, better financing options, a shift toward younger riders, maybe even a renaissance in the used market once this shakeout is over. But make no mistake, we are going through the painful part first. The next 2 years are going to separate the dealers who adapt from those who close their doors, the manufacturers who restructure from those who collapse, the riders who understand what is happening from those who get left behind financially. The motorcycle market as we knew it is over. 2 million bikes cannot find buyers. Your bike is worth thousands less than you think. The next 2 years will determine who survives this collapse. Do you own a bike right now? Are you thinking about buying? Drop a comment, because this story is far from over. Subscribe to track this situation as it develops.